Okay, guys, hey,
Last meeting, she did a good job.
Yes, sir.
I'm hoping this will be short and sweet. We talked the other day, went back and forth, got a little loud a little bit. I heard from people about that, which is not good, but it's okay. What we're gonna do today, we're gonna pick things out of the first reading that we think we can get passed or through the second reading, amendments per se, okay? I'm not gonna get picky-uni. If it's little bitty stuff, I'm gonna tell you no, because I know what's out there. If we get too cute, we don't have a chance of anybody listening to anything we say. So it's one or two of the bigger items per se, and see if we can get them in. Now, granted, there's no guarantee, we're not building the ordinance, we still have to put it together, and the whole council has to approve it. So just because we say we want something, doesn't mean it's gonna happen. So getting all upset because it's not what you want is too early to get upset, because it's gotta go through the council, all right? So, this will be our last meeting till after the work session, which means we'll meet again on Tuesday the 13th at 6 o'clock in the courtroom. And that's already been advertised, I think, so maybe we'll have some people there. And I will allow a little give and take as long as the tone stays reasonable.
6 o'clock.
If the tone doesn't stay reasonable, there won't be any. Okay?
Tuesday the 13th, at what time, Jim?
6? And I've already got the room reserved, so we're good. Okay, like I said, the idea for now is to pick a few things and see what we think about trying to have Jason do the legalese to them and see what happens, all right? And we don't need to spend a whole lot of time on any one thing. Like I said, don't get too picky. So if you've got your copy of the first reading, okay, it's literally just gonna go down like what's happened once before and not a whole lot went on, but this is it. This is it, okay? And I got a few wild and crazy things to say that,
Do you have any spare copies?
huh?
Do you have any spare copies?
Yeah, but if you need to have it right now, I may have to take a while to dig it out and whatever, but yeah, I got a couple. In fact, if you're really a good guy, what you'd do is you'd walk up and ask the lady out there to make a bunch more.
Not her
Well,
boss.
I made 15.
Not me.
Can I see yours?
Huh?
Make sure I got the
I'm not her boss.
So you won't walk up, go out the door, ask her to make copies?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Didn't?
I'll do it for you.
Okay. So much for that. Okay. Anybody have a problem with the title? That's all the bold print.
The on-site section.
We're getting to that.
Well, that's part of the title.
Yeah, but I mean, is it,
Outside that.
as it sits, it's okay?
Yeah.
Okay. What about the whereases?
A lot. I have one I'd like to see taken out,
Well, what is it?
whereas high occupancies create a substantial risk to health and safety. That one.
4 down, 4 column bullets down.
Yeah, I'm reading it. We can ask, no guarantees.
Okay.
Because I don't think whereases mean a whole lot to anybody anyhow.
They don't.
But depending why'd you bring it up. That's what I'm meaning about picky.
Because I would prefer it, so.
I know you would prefer it. I looked at your nose, you'd prefer everything. Okay, section 1. You got a problem with that?
Can I ask a question in regards to it?
Yes?
So for purposes of this ordinance, the short-term rental shall include properties, shall not include properties or timeshares, so like the greens.
Right, and we discussed that the other day about
Okay.
the kind of headache it would be to do that. This is just,
Okay.
okay?
Hey, Jim, as these are pulled out, is this not the consensus of the committee?
This is the first reading. That's what I'm working off.
No, I mean, like, she just
City
recommended pulling
council.
that whereas out. Is that the consensus, is that a go, or is that, does anybody else get to say, no, we want?
Yeah,
that to stay?
if you want to leave it, leave it. I just said I'll ask when I go over there. I think it needs to stay, but
I do too.
Yeah, I do too.
you lost. Okay, so all the whereases go, all right? Yeah, if you've got an objection to what goes on, say something, don't let me keep on going, because I don't want to have to go back and forth. It's just wasting time. Okay, so
That was good
definition, we can live with the definition?
Sure,
Okay. Permit required,
absolutely.
2 years instead of 1.
anybody got a problem with that? No? That didn't hurt, did it? Section 3.
So sometimes it's hard to get the actual on-site septic report because the Department of Health doesn't have them all.
Well, here's the deal. Section 3, I handed you out something the other day which would eliminate all of Section 3. Okay?
All of section 3 or just part
Why?
B?
Well,
You still need a permit, right?
yeah, you're gonna need all that, but let me read this,
Okay.
okay? Let me read this, because it's not, you know, a lot of theft that's in 3 is in here, but it's not 15 feet long.
Okay.
Any STR that can prove operation prior to 12/1/22, and that's just a date, okay? With an established occupancy rate shall be exempt from any occupancy rate found elsewhere else in this ordinance. All other rules, regulations will apply to obtain an STR permit. Those who apply as established STRs will have until, and again, a while date, 5/1/23 to complete the permit process, or they lose the exemption, they go back. Which means if you're already operating, you can prove you've been operating, and you're over whatever limit may pop up later on, you're exempt for that, as long as you follow every other rule. Every other rule.
And we'll come to talking about that, right?
Yeah, we can talk about that now.
So,
Now, remember, it's already in here.
I'm
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about your part that you just read.
Yeah.
That's not in here.
No, it's not. This is an amendment.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about, amendments to the existing. Okay? So this isn't law, this isn't rule. When it comes up, this is what we ask for, opposed to this.
Yeah.
And then if
So,
it gets voted down, it's all bye-bye.
okay.
If it gets voted up, it stays.
My feeling is that it shouldn't be an across-the-board grandfathering in.
And that's what the original one says. So if we propose this one, and it dies, it's gone. If we propose this one, and it stays. We don't have final say what's in or out. We're just gonna ask for the amendment.
But you're proposing that what you're asking for
Yeah, I'm
is-
proposing that, but it
is
still
an
has to be voted on.
exemption.
This means nothing right now. It will mean nothing if we bring it in front of the committee and they say no.
So it doesn't matter really if we say we're for it or against it. It doesn't
Well,
matter.
you know, if you want to try to go for it, we'll put it in. If you
matters
think
for
we're
this
wasting our
meeting.
time, and of course, you're already on the other side, and that's fine, I don't have a problem with that. You know, what I'm talking about, you're not an owner, and you would like to see some of this stuff go bye-bye, and I can understand, I don't have a problem with that. But we're not,
No, I'm just talking specifically about exempting all of the prior people
yeah?
indefinitely from any kind of occupancy.
Just, yeah,
Requirement.
but you have to apply on time, and you have to follow all the other rules.
And it's only an exemption until a future septic order.
That's correct, and that could be within 6 months.
Or that could not happen.
Huh?
Ever.
Or that could not happen.
Correct, yeah, it's a suggestion, a suggestion to an amendment. If we think we want to try it, there's no skin off anybody's nose if it goes, and there's no skin if it doesn't. This is a give and take kind of thing.
If someone's grandfathered and they make a new rule, why would they not still be exempt?
Because it's going to say so right there. You're only exempt one time, one thing. Well, you don't have this, I'm sorry. You wouldn't get copies, so you can't have these with that. No, you're only exempt this one time on this deal. If something else changes, you're going to have to comply.
I think I gave you some wording.
Is that written down
That
in
might
here?
help.
In your case, no. But it does say something about all the other stuff it will. All other rules and regulations would apply to obtain an SAR permit. So if we change something, you're gonna have to observe it. You're gonna have to comply with it. This is only giving you basically your numbers.
But this ordinance where it talks about the number of bedrooms, how many people per bedrooms,
Yep.
We're not there yet though.
would not apply because.
To these guys.
To all of the prior
To all the prior, as
STRs.
long as they jump through all the hoops and get their paperwork in on time, yes.
I'm just, for
You know,
one,
and
Don't
part of
think
my
that's
reason
right.
for doing that is just sort of like the white fence thing. Out of the clear blue, you can't have a white fence anymore. And they're not cutting anybody in their site who already had a
The white
white fence.
fence wasn't against the law.
No, yeah, I understand, but
You're
I'm
wanting
looking
to-
at the principles.
We're
sort of
asking,
thing.
you're wanting to grandfather things that are against state law.
I know that,
I have a problem grandfathering something that's already against the law.
okay.
But I think what the issue really is, Doug, is that you're separating out people who have bought houses. I mean, they were listed as a 3-bedroom, listed as a 4-bedroom, no matter what they are based on their septic size. And you're not doing that with long-term long-term rentals, permanent residents. And so you're singling out this one group. So that's where the issue lies, because whether you say you were sold a bill of goods or your realtor lied to you, that's what you went
Well, then, I
in
mean,
buying
this
this plans.
This pertains to all septic systems in the city, whether it's long-term rental, single-family residence, family of 2, family of 4, short-term rental. This applies to every
But
septic
it's not
field.
enforced.
It is by the state.
But it's not enforced in
is
this
not.
community.
this,
That's the issue.
We don't enforce septic.
So, but now you're going to.
We're occupancy.
it's,
We're not at occupancy.
and this
We're on
doesn't,
section 4.
occupancy doesn't even say anything other than if you're on a septic. It doesn't
Which the
say,
majority are.
no, I'm saying it's,
No, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
okay, it doesn't say if your septic is rated this way, you can only have that. It doesn't say that. It says if you're on, if you're on a septic system, then you're limited to 3 people per bedroom.
And the bedroom, they're saying, is based off the septic size,
Right.
not the number of bedrooms in the house.
Right. So-
No,
Wait,
it
However,
doesn't, this
the
doesn't
way
say
it is
that.
written, it actually just says bedroom. It does not say.
Doesn't say anything
septic
about
size. Now, if
septic.
they change that, there's that argument.
Mhm.
But we're still on
And
section
you're,
3.
and you're farther down than where we're at.
Right. Can I,
I was just answering a question about.
I'm still addressing
Thank
the
you, I
grandfather.
appreciate that.
I know.
This one's no septic.
I would like to make a friendly amendment to what you have said.
We'll just,
Okay.
What?
I would just suggest on section 3, just remove B.
For this section.
For this section. You can keep everything else. Because that will be in whatever septic thing that you guys go to. So just remove that.
Anybody else?
I'm good with that.
Hold on.
So put in my little part, but take out section B. Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying remove section B,
Period.
period.
Well, then you lose your exemption.
Now, hang on, I'm on section 4A for me. That is a
We're not
kind-
there yet.
It's a kind of grandfather, but it's not as broad.
Yeah, I think that's my issue with the grandfathering, it's awfully broad. And,
But when we get there, you'll see what I'm saying. Unless you let me talk about it now.
Okay,
But that's
so,
up to you.
so how do you feel about section B, in or out?
Out, out.
well,
Let's hear what she says later. It should tie together, right?
It does tie together.
Okay, maybe it would be
It's up
good
to Mr. Wozniak if I'm allowed to do that.
Okay, so go to the next, okay, everything else in 3 was okay except for D, we think?
I mean, I'd
And
like to
don't
get rid
put
of
whatever I
insurance.
wanted in?
I think the A&P taxes, that's not gonna apply for some people, and if we're gonna be made to do it, I don't know how we're gonna do it, because it's not gonna be possible.
Because it's
What,
paid
to
through
collect the tax?
Airbnb.
Correct. Because what they're wanting is a proof of, well, unless they spell this out, now, maybe they could clarify this. So, for example, if you only rent your house on Airbnb, you're not gonna have a sales tax permit. There's no reason
Correct.
for you to. You will not have one.
Can you get a permit or proof that you got one?
All you.
Somebody's gotta have it.
Airbnb.
Airbnb has it.
Okay, can you get a
No,
copy
you
of it?
cannot.
Why not?
Because it's not us
Because it's
personally.
not our permit, it's their permit, because they're collecting the taxes for us. We don't ever see that money, we don't touch it, we only see a breakdown, but what we can show is, you can show on your financials from Airbnb that they did collect that tax. So that is possible to show, I mean, I just think we need to clarify that we're not gonna have to go get a sales tax permit that will just be closed in a certain amount of months because we will report 0. And they automatically close your account.
Right.
So you're talking about C, right?
Yes, so if we could just clarify that if, if there was some way to prove that besides just a sales tax permit, that would be fine.
Okay, so let's bring up what you're worried about in 4.
Okay, so I'm thinking that as a grandfather, we're just gonna use that word, all operating STRs that can prove operation within.
Where you at? Where you at?
This is my own thing,
Okay,
okay, this is my A. On 4. I'm asking all operating STRs that can prove operation within the last calendar year will be automatically given the permit with payment as a grandfather and update their advertising to be compliant with section 5, which is occupancy, which I have a proposal for as well.
so you're not saying they have to comply with everything else?
Well, no, you have to comply.
Doesn't say that in your deal.
The advertising has to be compliant. So the biggest thing in this with compliance is number of people, right?
Yeah, but you gotta have your permit, you gotta have your insurance,
Well,
you gotta have your inspection, you gotta have all of that. You have to have all of that.
and I agree with that, except with the exception of B. I'm fine with my name and payment and all these different things.
So you don't wanna show proof of insurance or anything like that?
I
And proof of
personally-
inspection? That's what you're gonna ask for.
Well,
Or you're gonna end up with this fancy inspection that nobody wants.
Well, but hang on, because I've kind of looked at this whole thing. And so anyway, so if you did the advertising to be compliant as far as occupancy, and that you have had like your inspection limited to the fire department walkthrough.
Yeah,
I'm totally
that's-
fine with that.
That's somewhere else. It's another
Well,
section.
I know, but that's, all I'm saying is, that's my recommendation for a grandfather. Not that everybody gets grandfathered without any limitations, because we still need to be held accountable to limitations.
I'm losing that you lost the grandfather thing.
I'm just stating that all STRs that can prove operation would be given a permit with their payment. And then they do
Pay for their
need to-
permit, get on the registration, show your insurance.
She doesn't wanna show insurance.
I've conceded to
She
that,
will.
but
But, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out the grandfather and then we're gonna just go this other route. That's what you're doing.
not necessarily, I'm just
Roz, I can
giving
tell you this, most of us don't care about being grandfathered in. Most of us
Well, then I won't
young
even bring
owners-
it up.
I
And
mean,
then good luck.
we, we do think that some rules are reasonable. As long as rules are reasonable, we don't really need to be grandfathered in.
Okay.
So
It's
it's
out.
possible that could muddy things.
Grandfather's gone, then I'll take it out.
Well, that
If you're
you can-
saying most of you people don't care, why even bother?
Well,
we're not done discussing it.
we
Totally.
care that the rules are reasonable for us. That's what we care about. We care that they're justified and reasonable and enforceable. So we don't really want exclusions just so we can be excluded. I think most of us, for reasonable rules, can meet everything, honestly. But the septic is a huge issue. Occupancy is a huge issue. And the other ones, I think, are just kind of like nuanced things that we could probably work with.
And like I said, and I don't want to wordsmith, and that's what we're doing. We're getting picky. So the biggest thing, I thought you guys were like grants, because then you'd be all set, but now you don't want that. And we're gonna change 2 or 3 words in here for a couple
Well, I
other
don't think
things.
it's black and white. It's not that we want something completely and we don't want something completely. And we
But you're
don't
running
think-
out of time. This is gonna be second reading. You're running out of time.
And that's why we're here
Well,
discussing it.
we're here with you doing this, so.
And no
let's do
one
it.
may agree with what I'm saying here. That's just my 2 cents.
So what do you want it to say? So what we're going now is everything in 3 would stay there.
No, B's still gone. In my opinion, B's the only one that I really care about, and then C needs to be clarified.
4B?
3.
Oh, 3B.
30, yeah. So
Why?
because
Yes.
septic,
So,
Why be against having the septic system
certified.
installed or, certified?
It's not that, it's some of these older houses with the Department of Health, you literally cannot, they don't have the files. They don't have the permits anymore. Was there a fire?
This
or
is
something?
just
calling
says
for
it's
them
get an
to be
inspection.
come and
It's
do an
an- it's an-
Totally
inspection.
fine with
Yeah,
an
we're okay with
inspection.
inspections.
no
BBB
fee.
coming
so
out
Yeah,
and
we're okay with
inspecting.
inspections.
So if BBB comes out to inspect, that's fine.
So I told
Because
Stacy,
BBB, well,
my house was extended over the top of my septic tank, I can't pump it.
Well, that's got nothing to do with this, I'm sorry.
It says pumped right there.
Yeah, but your house doesn't have anything to do with this, you're not a short-term rental.
I am.
I thought you told me upside you weren't, I asked.
No, you didn't ask. I have 2 short-term rentals.
Okay.
Well, they
Are
do.
they
That's
the
a,
ones
that's
you
a bigger
told?
problem than.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
but
a big
BBB
problem.
says don't pump it. So I have from the BBB, do not pump your septic tank, you can potentially damage your house, don't do it. And then here, I'm being told I
It
have to.
sounds like you need to, they need to bypass it and install a new tank somewhere. I mean, I don't wanna get into that. But
Yeah,
that
I'm
sounds like
gonna-
a sanitary issue to me.
I'm gonna ask that we try to stay away from one-offs and just try to focus.
Yes.
But I like how this is going. Can we just keep moving with it?
Yeah, so we're talking about certification by somebody like BBB who comes out and surveys. Just like when you buy it, you want somebody
Yeah,
to
it's
come and
inspections.
certify
Okay.
that it's operating.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I don't see that being a problem.
No, that shouldn't be a
I
problem at all.
don't either, I'm just trying to, from my perspective, I don't have a dog in either one of this, I thought I got this up to try to help you guys, these guys, try to stay in business a little bit longer before the health department comes in. Because once they come in, they're all gonna be, there's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, the entire
And
city's
that
gonna
could
be,
end
Why
up
would there
being a
be a
long-term
problem?
problem for the city.
the entire city's gonna be up for work though.
Why is the health
We have to
department coming in?
discriminate
Because they're
on-
unhappy with what we're doing and they're worried about what Doug keeps telling you what he's worried about, catastrophic failure.
So this ordinance allows the health department to come in?
They don't need a reason, they can just come. That's the state health department, they can just show up and say, hey,
I think what he's saying is that they're aware of the ordinance and they're just looking to see, because the density of septic systems in Bella Vista far outweighs anywhere else in northwest Arkansas. They're
they
just
can
paying-
poke their
they're
head in
paying
any time and make rules and we have to follow.
The Department of Health is aware of this conversation.
We can't stop them from doing that, so
No, we can't.
not sure
What
what
do they
that-
say?
what bearing that has here.
Well, I can read you
They
exactly
They want
what
us,
they
they want
say.
us to abide by
Sounds like
their,
a dog in
their
the
state, on-site wastewater septic law. That's what they want us to.
So if they as an entity want to come in and force an issue on any given property, nobody can stop them from doing that. So it shouldn't have a bearing on this. That's just if they're gonna do it, they're gonna do it.
Correct.
Okay.
But we have to show that we're trying to do something to prevent that. So they don't come here
Which-
with bells on.
Which you are by having them certify that they're operating,
Yeah.
okay? My understanding of the issue with the STR owners was if you're gonna use my septic tank, as in Maria's case, to say I can only qualify for this number of bedrooms. But I just don't see something in here that's doing that.
Section 5.
Are you talking about A?
Yeah, 5A, the very end.
And I feel like it was written differently than what they were intending.
The what?
I feel like A was written. Doug, can you speak to that? When this is written, is it 3 guests per bedroom on a septic, no matter how many bedrooms you have?
It's 3 guests per, well, here's the state law. This is their rules pertaining to on-site wastewater systems. You go to page 51, it says the estimated flows for residential systems assume a maximum occupancy of 2 persons per bedroom. So if you have a septic permit that says 2 bedrooms, it's 4 people. Now,
Based
the
on
state health
usage.
department makes an exception for the city of Bella Vista because the lots here are 3rd acre. There's not an alternative site for your leach lines. So they said, okay, in order to make this work, you bump it up the size 25%. So that's why Richard said, well, you might could get 3 instead of 2 per bedroom. And that's what was put in here. So, and even that, in my opinion, could be teetering on violating their own state law. But, he's the director of Northwest Arkansas, and he says you might could get 3 because, we overbuild them a little bit, 125%, to make sure that they're bigger than out in the county.
And they come in for the inspection and determine you got a 2-bedroom house regardless of what
But
you're
to
paying.
answer her question, that's based on the bedrooms listed on your septic permit, not the
Right.
number of bedrooms in your home.
Do you understand that? That's the kicker.
But this verbiage doesn't tell me this verbiage tells me that there's a difference between those on septic and those on sewer. And those on septic, this is the guideline.
But it
3 guests
doesn't,
per
it tells
bedroom.
you the
Section
on-site
5,
septic permit for the
A3
property.
says that. A3 says as determined by the Arkansas Department of Health.
Right,
Permit.
so does that make sense?
I didn't see that.
If I have a 4-bedroom house and my permit only says I have a 2-bedroom house, this is saying I can only use those 2 bedrooms for occupancy. And that's what we're
And-
arguing against, because
and-
our water doesn't support that.
So the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, and if applicable, the
Will
Arkansas
determine
Department of Health.
They will determine what a bedroom is, the fire department will.
Well, and so for people on sewer, we're not gonna say that you have a 2,000 square foot house, but you have 5 bedrooms in it, that you can sleep 15 people, because that's beyond fire code, that's not acceptable. And so that's where fire code is coming in specifically, is more restrictive for sewer, people on sewer. Versus people on septic, they're gonna be more restricted by Arkansas Department of Health.
Sewer is limited to square footage
Correct.
by the RC.
So this is where Doug, you're saying that this is gonna kick in, and you're gonna have to look at it based on the health department septic permit.
I mean, whether the house is being used as a short-term rental or a family of 3, what's on the Arkansas Department of Health septic permit is what should be used. Whether it's a long-term rental, family of 4 or 5, or a short-term rental, the permit is what is used.
But only
Which
for
is-
short-term rentals.
Which is not enforced for anybody in the state.
Well,
As far as I know, they enforce it on everybody.
yeah, you
They
can't.
don't overlook somebody just because
So
it's
you
a
guys,
long-term rental.
who's enforcing homeowners that have, 10 kids? I mean, it just does not happen.
Well, you're blanketing the whole thing. Well, if you don't do that to every single person, the reason we have this ordinance is because the STR, multiple people in, has an impact. So you can't say for every rule that the city wants to enforce, well, you can only enforce that rule if you do it to every single person.
But it
There's
doesn't have an
segre-
impact. That's the argument, that there's no data, and Richard, the Department of Health guy that they keep referencing, has told me multiple times in writing, I have it right here, I have every record that the 2 counties in northwest Arkansas have ever put out in the last 3 years, that shows that there's no problems with Bella Vista. There's no problems with STRs, and that according to their failure rates and their complaints and their records, that they don't see any increase of failure rates compared to any other part of the state. Now,
Okay.
that's a quote from him.
That's today, okay? The city is charged with protecting the city for a long time into the future, the
Right.
rules they put in place. So the fact that there haven't been 15 failures as of today,
These rules are actually for houses that have an alternative site. Our lots don't have alternative sites, so they should probably be a little more stringent.
If-
Because they're more susceptible to failure. But what I struggle with is the person that's gonna write their name on the permit is, this is state law, and it's probably state law because of a reason, and how do I not abide by that?
Well, the
You're
state
asking me
laws-
to make the ordinance less stringent than the state law,
than the current law.
and I don't know how we even can do that.
No, we're asking you not to point us out
You're
to
wanting to
be
do
the-
away with occupancy.
No,
limits.
we're asking you to not make us the scapegoat for any problems of failures of septic in Bella Vista. If this is a problem for the entire city of Bella Vista.
Yeah,
There
and they'll
is-
enforce it that way.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
But you're not enforcing it, and instead you create an entire ordinance based off of our occupancy and septic that literally word for word says that we have a problem
I would
with
think that if
this.
city council creates an ordinance for long-term rentals, it would be the same thing.
Exactly.
But they said they didn't want to.
And they said they were not gonna do that.
I don't
That
know if
don't mean they
will or
won't, you
not.
got a whole new council coming in,
Yeah.
and you know that if they're already looking at us, they're gonna be coming around. They're gonna be coming around. And, you know, you're working off of this here, but it's gonna be citywide.
So then can we just wait until the city does it?
Right, which is
Why
what,
single us out now?
right. You have no, we don't, there's not a single one of us that have had a septic failure. Nobody has pointed one.
It
It's
doesn't make.
not
You
about
know,
what you've had so far, it's about what the impact in the
You,
future.
you realize that we've had short-term rentals here for like 100 years, really,
Yeah.
right?
I
mean,
Bella Vista was built on that,
Yeah, and.
Okay, if we're gonna go there, right, why are we even sitting here?
Well, I think we're okay with, I think the issue is when this whole ordinance started was people were upset with noise, trash, parking, and occupancy, right?
Occupancy wasn't the
Well,
problem.
too loud, too many people,
Too many
because it
But
was
we
so
weren't,
loud.
we weren't enforcing what's out there.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Agreed.
If we could make an issue, forget about, go to second reading, make a big issue about.
Occupancy controls all of those things.
Right.
Can we
But
control
if we don't,
occupancy
if
differently?
Noise,
we
parking,
leave,
parties.
if we leave this, whatever we're trying to do, just forget it, okay? And make a bigger issue on the things we're not enforcing. Because had we done that in the first place, we wouldn't be here today. Because this all started out, way back, is who owns what and how do we get a hold of you in case there's a problem. That's how it started. And that's really all we needed, because everything was going along pretty good. And we had a couple of houses, what's the one's called a Cedars or something, that violates probably every weekend. And, either the police haven't been told or they've ignored it, but all the police have to do, and yeah, it's their job, all the police have to do is on a weekend extra patrol and drive by the place and see what it looks like. But we ain't doing that either. It comes down to enforcement, and we're not. And I can talk smart the way I did things, but I didn't have near the people they got now when I had other problems. And of course, I didn't have this problem. And you saw the chief sitting over there the other day, after 6 months, he couldn't even come up with 50 violations in the whole place. And it goes back to, we ain't calling them. I'm gonna call this lady, I'm gonna call that lady, I'm gonna call her. Nobody's calling the person with the enforcement. He says, well, that's not their job. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. That's their job. That's what you pay them for.
Yeah, I didn't say it
That's
wasn't
for
their
health and
job.
safety.
I didn't say it wasn't their job, I just.
No, you didn't, but it's been said
Yeah,
often, that it's not, it is their job. That's what you pay us for, to keep you safe. If you don't tell us there's a problem, we don't know. It isn't like, you got 3 or 4 guys on a shift, you got 500 miles of road. Basically, the neighborhood's quiet, we're not even going there, we're going to other places. But if you don't tell them, or we don't have a special patrol thing, drive by on weekends, what's it hurt to drive by those houses, was it Mason Lane, whatever it is? To drive by that house and say, golly gee, he's only supposed to have X number and they're all over the place. And they're gonna be all over the place, and I imagine Thanksgiving was one of those, and Christmas is gonna be one of those.
and that's a very small number compared to all the other STRs in the community, right?
Well, but that's where the problem is, nobody's telling anybody what's going on. There's no communication, zero. There is zero communication opposed to you a problem with your neighbor, or I got a problem with my neighbor. And I have neighbors that I'm not real fond of what their yard looks like, but I don't care. As long as he's behaving himself and the layout is real, I can live with that. I mean, you wanna see some ratty places, go down old Cooper Road and go on both sides of Cooper Road.
I know.
The thing is, it's already out there, it's already started. We need to maybe forget and make a big push, put something together, amendment, that we get this done, and leave the rest of it alone, and let the chips fall where they may.
Do you have a problem with permitting?
Because we could wordsmith the day out of this and pick one here and pick one there, what do we gain? Not a whole lot,
They had to.
not a whole lot.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Part of the
Well,
qualifications.
Overall,
Everything else
and
in-
mostly I've been trying to listen and
Occupancy is
figure things out. But overall, it seems like the biggest components here that are contested boil down to septic and occupancy.
That's,
And the rest of it is pretty much workable
everybody's okay with everything.
to some degree or another. And I'm still on section 3. I know everybody else jumped to 5, but I'm still on section 3, and I can just tell you in the practical application of some of these things, and that's where I would argue with Mr. Fowler in a big part, is that in some of the wording in these things, it's impossible to enforce. It's impossible to make happen. These septic inspections that they talk about doing, look, I know the folks that own BBB. They tell me they're weeks and months out from being able to do some of these things. So the practical application of that is just as difficult as inspections on these properties. To have the personnel that are qualified and licensed to do that, is gonna be really challenging, even with the small number that are
Yep.
requiring that right now. But then to go further in the language, and I assume Mr. Fowler's language came up with this, was to say that those have to be pumped, to this gentleman's point, is that you've suddenly said, hey, look, I know you're licensed and certified to make inspections, but we're also gonna require this. We don't care if you tell us that it's okay, but it has to be pumped.
And
So they just go further than I think you need to, even if you're trying to certify a septic system. It's like, okay, because I've had those kinds of inspections many times. And they'll come in and look and go, I don't think you have to be pumped.
So I don't think pumping should be a requirement either. I do think that the inspection and certification should be a requirement. You do that when you buy a house, and that's how you as the homeowner find out, hey, you got a problem. If you don't address it now, it's gonna cost you a lot more money down the road. So I think the inspection is fine, but I don't agree with the pumping either. I don't think you should force
Okay,
a
so
person
where
to
is
pump
that
it.
in here?
This section
Section
3B.
3B.
So real quick too, you guys talked about this at a council meeting actually, about the inspections. Usually to do the inspections, the tank has to be pumped, depending on the level of inspection that you require.
Well, yeah, if it's chock
So-
full, you can't do a
Correct.
certification.
When you pump it, that's when they collapse.
Correct. So
So
I
we
just
don't
pulled
pump them
2
to start.
permits yesterday, I was at the ACC. What about septic tanks that don't have lids? There's a lot of them. How do you
That's
pump?
first I heard of that.
Yeah,
Okay,
me
you can
too.
go to the ACC and ask,
They
there's
don't
a
have
ton
lids
of
and they
them.
don't have cleanouts.
Yeah, exactly, they don't have cleanouts and they don't have lids, and according to the ACC, you are not allowed to cut your own lid. So that is a septic tank that cannot be pumped, and now, I don't have that, but there are people here that do.
All right, so if we went back to section 3B,
Just take that,
well,
is my opinion.
well, we're still looking at, you know, an inspection. Property served on-site septic business for wastewater, a copy of a report from the licensed septic installer or inspector certifying an on-site inspection system, the property is operational within limits. Quit. That's it, right
Right there, and
Right there.
if a person has an issue like the gentleman behind me, then he can apply for a variance based
Right.
on what's
Yeah.
going
there.
on.
Quit right there,
his
take
property.
everything else out.
Yeah, and if you make a variance, cool.
Well, you'd have to get it from somebody and, you know, it'd be up to Doug if you get it or not.
But that would be nice to put in.
Within
Good luck to
limits.
me.
That's rare, I mean, you're gonna have to have that cut open to.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really rare.
Okay, but-
Pump it, that's super
Okay,
rare.
you know, we've already gotten away with the grandfather stuff. Okay, so we go to B, and after it gets, obviously, Department of Health, everything else from there goes away. Is that all right with everybody?
May I just clarify that it can be someone like BBB?
Which gotta be a certified
Has to be a
installer.
licensed,
I don't think they, like, there's a lot of places that service
Well,
them
it says-
that know whether or not it should be, but they're not
Licensed-
technically licensed.
Licensed septic
Installers.
installer,
Yeah, they're just
or
aren't
inspector,
getting it.
licensed, it's right there.
So what you're saying is a licensed service company? Or a
No, he's gonna have to get
licensed
a
installer?
license from the state, a permit, from the state health
But
department.
Yeah,
are all
just-
people who are inspectors
Yes.
also installers,
Permit
is what
for
you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Inspection.
Doesn't have to be.
It says installer or inspector.
Which is why I just want to clarify, can we call, and if BBB sends out their employee who does it all, and they write something saying that it's fine, is that going to be acceptable?
Yeah, should be. Then if it falls apart, you go after BB&B.
and the issue with how long it's gonna take to get BB&B or someone
Well,
like them
you know,
out.
if you can prove there's a problem, we're gonna have to live with you.
Well, I
You know,
think,
we don't have to be, it's gotta be tomorrow because it ain't gonna be tomorrow.
well, that's where that idea of grandfathering in does have application,
Yes.
because.
But we don't, if we're gonna go there, we don't need grandfather. If you can come to me and say, hey, I call BB&B and I call Hutchison and I call these other people,
Sure.
and they can't get to me, that's all you should have to do.
Okay,
That's all you should have to do. You
Okay.
wouldn't have to wait more words, more letters, more nitpicking. All it is, I can't get it done in time.
Okay,
I need
so-
more time.
so I'm gonna ask a question I think is real relevant. So Maria has to get this inspection, and she can't get it for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so can someone else come in and usurp her position in application,
No.
you know, in the order of
No.
application?
Well, once she started, she's in.
Okay, good.
And then if she can't make the date because of, we can't get the people to do it.
Then we
she
understand that,
should be
we'll
fine.
work with it.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
got it.
You know,
Then
you
that
know,
needs-
we're not gonna
that
be,
makes sense
you know,
for
I don't wanna be
grandfathering, if you wanna
that
use that
exact.
term.
You know, if you're working with me, I'll work with you.
Okay.
But if you're gonna be a butt, I can be a bigger butt.
Well, that's all I was concerned about, is that the people that already have them, and I'm a homeowner who doesn't have one, so
Right,
I'm
and
just,
you're on the
I'm just
other side
saying,
of the
looking
argument, that's
across
fine.
the table at what can be fair on both sides,
Yeah.
those people should be considered for permits until such time as the registry is complete and we know how many is in the gap between those that currently exist and the max put on by this ordinance. Those people, if they wanna put an application in, can, but they can't be looked at for their permit until all of these people who've already been
They log-
doing it.
If they come in and say, we got a problem, they stay wherever they were on the list till they get it fixed,
Okay, good.
okay?
How about just giving them
But then
till
how
a
do
certain
you,
date?
how do you look at operation during that time? Like, let's say BBB is.
We're not taking, you operate as you currently are, because that's where we're leading this.
Okay.
You know, because basically, we're going here, we're going with first reading, and we just decided that you're not that concerned about the grandfather, but you are concerned about the septic, okay? And then, that's gonna be the thing. You're gonna ask for your permit, and one of the things you're gonna have to show when you come to get your final permit is that you got all the things done. And if you had the, you know, have to wait,
Certified.
as long as you're doing your thing and you can show
Due
work,
diligence.
you know, you probably need to show, and it would be a case by case, that you got everything else going and this is just the only thing that's hurting.
Right.
It isn't like you're dragging your feet on purpose.
Absolutely.
And that could be,
Right.
you know, that could be a decision made at Doug's office or any place else, is, hey, you're not helping, you gotta do this.
And they wouldn't, I don't think, because they wanna get this resolved.
Yeah, well, not everybody's real honest,
Well,
trust me.
The poop butts can be dealt with like poop butts, but the people who are cooperating.
Okay, so the grandfather's gone, we go to section 3, everything after Department of Health goes away. Everybody else sort of okay with that?
Well, or what about your recommendations for permit fees?
Well, we're not there yet.
Not there yet.
You know,
We're
sort
not
of like,
Years immediately.
no, because we're only on section 3 or 4.
We're just sticking with B.
We're only on section
It's
3 and
got
4.
B.
Well, it's, the application
And those,
fee is
you know,
addressed
and
in
what I
B.
handed you for recommendations is strictly that, that's my idea.
I understand.
That can go by mine in a New York minute. Yeah, Michelle?
So in regards to B, which I'm totally good with, I do want to just say maybe that variances it needs to be stated somewhere, variances can be determined applied for, determined through with the city. If
I
there's,
think that's a
if
good
there's an
point.
issue, like if your
Do you-
septic is underneath,
Would you require that if somebody came in verbally and said, I need more, would you want something in here on paper, or will you just take it face value?
I mean, I don't see why we wouldn't work with you.
I don't either,
We
but,
do
you
that all
know,
the
she
time.
wants to put it in paper, and I'm asking you, if your department would just take it on face value, I can't get it done.
And you're just asking for more time?
Yeah,
well,
The reason,
and I'm
it's the
also thinking,
reason why.
You know, like your,
Like the
if
one-offs.
it's underneath, like, so what if it could be pumped? And it's not technically working, but he pumps it every month. I'm specifying that kind of a variance, like if you made the agreement with the city, oh, well, I know it doesn't work, X, Y, Z, whatever, the leach line is bad, so we did, you know, we pumped once a month. Could that be like a variance that the city determines?
that's a whole different thing than what we're talking about, though,
Okay, I just
because
kind
it's
of
a
want to
whole
bring it
different
up.
thing. Okay, now, anything else on section 3? So everything else stays, except for that part.
I think the rider, insurance is fine, but the rider doesn't need, especially for it's my house.
I don't care if it's your house, you need to show insurance to cover
I
in
think
case
what she's
something
saying
happens.
is she's owner occupied.
I understand, I know
that. Okay.
You still gotta show proof that you got something in case something happens at your house.
But not to the city. To Airbnb maybe.
I think it's a little much myself, because, you know, if we get sued, it has nothing to do with the neighbors.
It
It's
doesn't
the-
No, but it's nice for the city to know we gave you a permit and you're covered.
Well,
And
nice
you're
to know
covered.
that, I mean, but
Why,
like, you know, every homeowner has that rider. Are they gonna be required to show that for their taxes or something like that? You know,
Show proof of insurance, one way or the other, homeowners or something separate for your deal.
I'm talking like the non-STR people, you know, they have to have the same, you know.
I mean, there's no law that we even have to have any insurance on our house unless we mortgage it. I mean,
Well, I
would
don't have
be
mortgage insurance, they
dumb.
wouldn't give it to me.
It would be dumb not to have insurance or liability insurance, but
I don't have mortgage insurance, they wouldn't give it to me, I'm not healthy enough.
What's Airbnb's policy on insurance, liability insurance, things like that?
So they do, they have a $3 million liability policy that we are able to access if needed,
Okay.
for guests.
So it's
and-
out there. So
It's
you
out
can
there.
get it.
But that's
Um,
Airbnb.
But it's their policy, we don't have a
Yeah,
copy
but
of their,
if it covers your house, you can show that it's there, correct?
yeah,
Okay, that should be good enough.
well, all right.
It should be
Well,
good enough.
But to Stacy's point, what about if you don't do Airbnb? What if you're VRBO only?
Yeah,
Or what if
that's
you're direct bookings only?
Now, Verbo has I think $1 million policy, but there are situations where people don't use Airbnb or Verbo, so I could, open a home, an STR, and strictly rent to friends and family, just,
I can understand the need for that,
Yeah.
though, honestly, Stacy, because even as a contractor, I'm gonna make sure my subs are insured, because I don't wanna be liable for something on the job, and that's kind of the way it would come back. If the city issued a permit and they knew you weren't insured for that liability, I guess that somebody could come back to the city.
well, I think the attorney has already said that wouldn't be possible at all.
Really?
Yeah, he said that
Well,
the city
the
council.
city
I don't believe
Cities
that.
get sued all the time. I think that it's not unreasonable, if we're gonna issue a permit to a business in a residential zone, to ask for some sort of.
You keep calling it a business and a
Do you
residential.
expense stuff? Do you expense anything?
It's
I
a home
understand.
base.
I understand what you're
It's a
saying.
The
business.
court disagrees with you.
Yeah.
The
Supreme.
Supreme
The law
Court
does.
disagrees with you.
I understand, but yeah, it's reasonable and sensible to have some sort of coverage.
And it's
So
not-
did bed and breakfast require liability insurance?
If they're not
I
part of
don't
this,
get phone
I
calls
don't
every
know.
week about bed and breakfast. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
Okay, we're gonna leave the insurance thing in and we
Is
can
there
worry
a
about that
CR
later, all right?
Okay.
Insurance stays. So, section 3, we take a little bit out of B, everything else is good. All right?
What was the end result on number C, 3C, about the,
clarify.
To clarify the language of it?
well, you were talking about that, I guess the Airbnb collects the taxes?
Yeah.
Do they send it to the city? Do
They
they
send it
take
to
a
the
They send
cut?
it to the state.
And then the state sends it to the
Yeah.
city?
Yeah. Okay, section 4.
But then what happens if you're, like you were talking about, some people are VRBO and some people don't do any of
Last I
that?
heard, the city was working to make a contract with VRBO so that those taxes would be remitted automatically.
It's done.
It's done.
Yeah.
I think
VRBO just
the
What happens if
A&P
you
is
sell?
slowly finding the different rental agencies. I think there's 10 or 12 or maybe
There's
even
about
more.
300.
Yeah.
There's
And so
300.
they're looking for the most common ones and trying to
The
work
ones
out
used the
agreements.
All right, number 4. Anybody got a problem with that? What I took out is, taking into account all applicable building, safety, fire, and whatever, I took out and electrical. The fire department has a list of stuff that they check, and it includes just about everything under the sun. And it's not intrusive, they can be in and out. Doug doesn't necessarily have to hire other people to make it work, and it's very inclusive. They can also, because they know the fire code and the bedroom situation, they can walk down the hall and tell if it's a legal bedroom or not. So it still gets inspected by the fire department, everybody loves the fire department. And we just take
I
out
don't
the
think the
bill.
fire department wants to inspect these. If you-
I talked to them. He said if you can't do it because of cost and have to hire people, he said he would do it.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have to hire anybody. I have 7 people, I have 7 inspectors.
Well, you can also do the fire inspection then, but I don't wanna, go through the whole house and look at every plug-in and pick up everything and take the electrical box off the wall. If you can't do it by walking through it
We
in
had
10,
a
15 minutes.
short safety inspection that we provided that didn't include any of that.
Yeah, and no cost. Fire department's not gonna charge.
No, we're not gonna charge us. You
Okay,
get
so-
that as part of
Part of
So
your.
you want me to
permit
put it back in?
I think our concern was just that it's open, almost open-ended. We don't know what's gonna be on
It
it.
doesn't say what it is. Yeah,
Right.
it's
We,
not defined.
we
Fire
brought a
department-
list.
I got the fire department list of stuff. It's
Okay.
quite inclusive.
I have their list.
If your house was built in 71, do you
Can I
go off
say
the
it?
71 building code?
Right.
Or do you go off of 2022 building?
Okay,
code?
so-
That's what I
These
sent
are
you the
very-
other
You
day.
wanna leave that in, or you wanna take it out and just let the fire department do it? Doug does say he doesn't have a problem, just leave it in
I like it up to the point of fire safety, period,
and take out the other.
and take
I mean, if
everything
you
from
got
that
knob
point
and
on.
tube wiring, I'm not comfortable.
Fire
That's
department
gonna
should be able to
play
find a walking
with
through
transit
and You
still
don't
have
think the
some
fire
of that?
department can find that as a
Yes,
walkthrough?
see it,
Really?
yes.
You don't think the fire department can find that as a walkthrough?
I'm just saying, if your house was built in 1960 and it's never been touched, it's not.
Well, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of that.
There's gonna be some
I
dangerous
can
stuff
tell you,
in it.
Cooper built my house, and I had all sorts of fun in my house.
Here's a question though, really. When I bought my house, I had an inspection done. It's on the onus of the owner, it's not on the onus of the city.
Right.
And so, that's just, I don't think that we need to go further than, you've got the fire alarms, you've got the carbon monoxide detector, and you've got an extinguisher. They've already, most people had their homes inspected.
I don't think the safety checklist that our chief building official recommended was much more extensive than that.
I haven't
It
seen
may
it.
have looked at
I haven't
decks,
seen it, so I don't know.
Lori has it right there.
stick a 3-prong in the GFCI outlets in the bathroom and the kitchen and make sure they trip. It wasn't real extensive.
No.
Stuff you probably already have if you're running.
Right.
it.
And the 3-prong thing is a fire safety issue.
And I think our concern from the beginning, because we didn't have this list for a long time apparently, or none of us ever saw it. The concern is that, you know, our houses are gonna have to be up to code for whatever code is today. Right now, every single little thing,
No,
you know.
it's not.
No.
Yes,
It's not it's not a home inspection. I mean, make sure there's egress, the window opens,
What
smoke
about
alarms. It was,
guardrails?
when we made it, we figured it's gonna take us longer to schedule it than it will to go do the inspection. We're talking 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I'm
Sleeping
gonna bring
area.
up my own house real quick with guardrails. So my driveway does this. My land does this. People know when they book my place, they're gonna have to walk. I don't have handrails everywhere. They know that going in. Mine is not handicapped accessible. It's just how it is. So for me to have to do that.
That's a whole other ballgame, making
But-
these businesses.
but that's on here.
ADH compliant.
But that's on here, and I don't think that that's fair.
I think it's talking about stairwells.
Right in the house.
It's gotta be a
It
grass
says
full
guardrails
handrail.
must be installed in good working order where there is an abrupt change in elevation of 30 inches or more. So that's,
If your
That
house was
doesn't
built,
say
if your house was built prior to, you shouldn't have to comply,
so if the house is built prior
prior to
to,
a specific date. Because since I need a cane every place I go, I watch that stuff. And I know that when you see a building gets remodeled, all this stuff appears. If the building is old and you haven't messed with the outside, you don't have to do anything. You are before the deal, you are before the ordinance.
What they're talking about there is kind of a standard HUD requirement when we sell a property, is put a handrail if it's an elevation over 30 inches above the grade. Just keep people from falling off.
Oh, yeah, and we're not denying that, but
Yeah, it's not talking about your driveway necessarily.
It's
The
stairwells.
deck, front
A
porch.
deck, front porch,
Like
things
entering in
that.
and out of a
Yeah,
home
they
and
just
stuff
don't
like
want you to
that.
fall off and hurt yourself. And
Right.
how they came up with 30 inches being a dangerous zone, I don't know. But if it's 30 inches or more, that's it.
38 inches to break a hip.
this is what the fire department expects
30
for.
this way,
Lots
not
of stuff.
a decline.
Yeah, ours was not near that extensive.
No.
No,
So
theirs is-
you
you
want,
haven't seen my yard.
hey, this is what the fire department does.
I think if we can say that this is the checklist that
Well,
Doug.
all we're looking at is, I've got that too. All we're looking at, you want to leave the electrical in or out?
Out,
Anybody else?
Out.
Leave the fire in.
need fire in.
Yeah, if we use that list, it's there.
Yeah, this is it, and this is just a rough draft, but this is a pretty simple,
It's very
basic
simple.
inspection. I mean,
Yeah.
If your home it doesn't pass this, I'd be worried to rent it, at least not
Right.
mine.
Okay, so
You
it's
wouldn't
coming
go to
out.
sleep there.
Anything else in section, come on guys, anything else in section 4?
Yes,
What?
4B, I don't want my address listed in the home. I don't mind giving it to the police, I don't mind giving it to anybody else, but I don't want it listed in the home.
You mean your personal
Address.
residence, like where you live, yeah.
Right.
If
Yeah,
it's
that's
in
a
the
good-
registry,
That should
That's
be enough.
fine, I'm
Then-
good with that.
yeah.
They can't look it up on the
Then-
internet.
But the
but
city
I
will
don't
have
want-
it, they can go to cities.
And that's fine.
You just don't want to do it okay.
No,
I
I
can
wanna
live with
make
that.
it
My
that
guests
easy.
don't need to know where I live.
But they do have your phone number, so they can get in
Yeah,
touch with you.
Right,
Yeah.
and they get all that
All right,
on
okay. Yeah.
Airbnb.
We'll
telephone
take
numbers,
that
take
out,
the address
okay?
out.
Could you substitute email address?
And they
For
have
the-
that already.
Yeah, they
They
have all
already have
that.
all that.
They can
It
get
doesn't need to
anything
be
they want if
posted.
they really do a little digging.
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And same thing with local point of contact. You want that out too? That's in the next 5 or 6 words.
And the local point, well, I am my local point.
No, I think that's fine.
Yeah, that's
Take
good.
that out too?
Yeah,
No,
Leave it, leave
Leave
it.
it?
No, leave it.
Leave that,
Leave
just,
it.
just take out the other, okay.
yeah.
Yep, leave it.
How about neighbors point of contact for, that's something.
Neighbors
I hear
point of
all the
contact
time.
the police department.
yeah.
Yeah, if you want something done, that's what you gotta do. And I don't know how many
Neighbors
times
don't
I gotta
police
say that.
neighbors.
You want something done, you gotta call the cops.
We can normally say police and people fix things.
Then why is there this big hoopla? So
Because you've
that's
got a
not
few people
so.
that complain.
Okay. Section 5, occupancy limits.
Before we jump, I just got a question on the last sentences here.
Of what?
On 4B.
Okay.
We talked about this the last time we got together, and property owners may be cited and fined for violations of applicable city ordinances.
Yeah.
We talked about whether or not that property owner would be cited if the people in the house were violating the noise ordinance. Would that be something really fair?
They could be,
Sure,
for allowing it to happen.
sure it's fair.
Allowing it to happen? I don't have any.
They have to
control.
comply with the ordinances. We made it sure that, you know, the city code is in there about noise and stuff. Now, they don't have to get a ticket, but the people who made the noise after 1 or 2 times would, yeah, but I don't have a problem with them getting something if they're not gonna comply, and it continues on and on and on.
And the STRs that do good advertising
Don't have a problem.
Well, I'm just
and
saying,
monitoring
how do I control
don't
that?
have that problem.
And the example I
Well, the
gave
way you
was
control it
my
is
tenants
by-
were fighting and having a brawl in the front yard, my neighbors called me. But how would I control that? How would I know about that? How would I be responsible for that?
A
If
brawl in
I'm
the
driving
yard
your
is-
car down the street, you don't get the speeding ticket if I speed.
Right. So I'm just
No, but if
saying
you don't have your
that
seatbelt on,
seems,
who owns the car sitting next to you, he gets it.
seems a little harsh to me.
Yeah.
It really does. I don't have control over those actions. Those people
And no one
should
said
be
you get a
cited.
ticket, it just depends on if you let it happen again and again and again.
That person brawling in an STR is the same person brawling in a residence that's not an STR.
Sure enough.
It's a judicial issue with the police and what constitutes a violation, and that's not what they're talking about here, I don't think.
All right, section 5.
This is a meat and potatoes, the whole deal.
This is it, Doug.
Throw it out.
You know that ain't gonna happen, if you throw that out,
So I think,
you're gonna lose.
I think there's a desire for occupancy limits. I think that we need to put something in place for occupancy limits. Absolutely. Can we make it the same for, base it upon Arkansas Fire Prevention Code at 200 per square feet per person? And just keep it simple with code that already exists. We're
Well,
not
then it's
even-
gonna take care of your bedroom situation. You got a 4-bedroom house you're renting out, but it's only set up for 2, you're gonna lose those 2 bedrooms. You wanna do that?
By fire, but not by fire code.
Not by
No, but by
fire.
definition of a bedroom, and that's in the fire code,
Well, they are legitimate bedrooms. They have a point of egress and a door.
yeah.
So they
But
are
what's
bedrooms.
your septic set up for?
2.
Okay, so then,
So that's not fire code
So
then.
then I
But
said.
that's not
fire,
Right,
that's not
But
fire
fire
code.
code is saying that if you have a 2,000 square foot house, I don't care if it's 5 bedrooms, you will not sleep 15 people in that house, you are limited to 10. And so if we can take code that already exists, that's already able to be easily enforced and regularly enforced, wouldn't that make more sense?
Yes.
so what do you wanna do? You wanna put a number on it right here? Or what?
Enforced by fire code.
Yeah.
Eliminate any language related to septic.
I mean, if we're talking about safety, that's absolutely safety right there of our guests.
We have some houses in the city on 1-bedroom septics that have families of 5 and 6 in them right now. 2-story homes. So I think that if you use that, it could work for a lot of houses. But there are houses that, if you've got a 2,500 square foot house that's got 2 bedrooms, and then we say, okay, you can sleep 12. You're gonna be sleeping in living room, kitchen.
Okay, isn't there additional code, isn't there additional housing code based on square footage of bedrooms? Am I making that up? Do
Not
you
that I'm
know,
aware of.
I
Larry?
think I think you're taking
A
it to
bedroom
the
has a
extreme,
minimum-
because you're saying it's like, they're gonna try to pack everybody in everywhere they can, and that's not good
You can
business
only
for
sleep in
SDR.
bedrooms. You can't
Those are the
sleep in
ones we're
living
trying
room,
to avoid, the
kitchens,
ones that happen.
bathrooms, garages.
Right, I don't think like an
Yeah.
exclusion of that would I mean, I think that would make sense. Obviously, we're not putting people in kitchens and stuff, but I could see some
If you
idiot.
could see some of the pictures, I'm sure you've seen them, they're putting people in sunrooms
Yeah,
and back porches, I mean, there's bunk beds everywhere.
Doesn't a bedroom have to have a closet? Is that part of the
Technically, no, it has
Not
to have
A
an
window.
egress window,
Yeah.
doesn't have to have.
Yeah,
a
and
closet.
there's already variances in Bella Vista for the condos, right? That you could, you know, the council record shows that y'all are talking about, they're not making them go to the same requirements. There's no second means of egress.
Those have been in violation since
They
before
were
there was
built.
even a code, I
And we
think.
can't throw the baby out with the bathwater just
No.
because.
but we're excluding those in this ordinance.
Okay, Michelle?
I don't know how those get through the Arkansas
Okay,
State
so
Commission, to be honest with you.
I
I'm
don't
just
either.
gonna throw this out there, what if we did maximum occupancy of 12 in non-owner occupied, 4 in owner occupied, but you can apply for a variance based on square footage?
I mean, I don't see a problem with asking for a variance for a number of things. I mean, I don't know if planning commission would have to do that, or if administratively we can do that.
But this would
Probably
be-
gonna have to be a planning commission variance.
Right, but this would be a real easy cap.
Mhm.
If you have a 6,000 square foot house, that's, 12 people are gonna be dwarfed in there. But in a normal setting, that's, let's say, 2 sisters, their husbands, and 3 kids each. There you go. 2 little families kind of staying together for a weekend. I'm just throwing that out as a number. I think it's a respectable number. And then I think that if you have a larger house or you have 20 legitimate bedrooms, then you can go to the city and say, I think I need a variance on that 12 to 15, or whatever the case is.
I don't know that the planning commission can issue a variance that's
So what were the?
in
what was
direct
the-
violation of this.
What was the qualification? What was the verbiage there? Was it 2 persons per bedroom?
3 persons per bedroom.
Occupancy of 2 persons per bedroom.
So 2 persons per bedroom,
Yes.
and then how is the bedroom defined?
Sir, can I
It's gotta
explain
be
that
a
really
certain
quickly and
square
just give you a
footage.
situation?
Hold on, please.
Absolutely.
70 square feet, means of egress. I think that's it.
So is it fairly easy to determine what it is that we're talking about? I mean, it's not a
Yes.
sunroom, it's not the crawl space, it's not the living room, pull-out couch, correct, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to walk in a house and tell what's gonna be used as a bedroom. A chief building official can do that, I can do that, I mean, that's not tough. But when you
So-
call it an office or a craft room or a workout room,
That's not a bedroom.
to get around the
rules.
septic regulation, and then
Okay,
you
so
put
Doug, are
beds
you-
in it, that's what I.
Are you against the way
So-
this is written right now? Because right now it's written for 3 guests per bedroom, plus an additional 2.
I see that.
And
I'm a
so-
little perplexed with it, I'm not saying I'm against it, I mean, the health department said that, but in
I-
discussions I've had with other health department
Totally
people,
understand.
they're saying this is the state law.
Totally understand.
I think this was said because he knows that our systems are overbuilt a little bit,
Okay.
because there's
Right.
no alternative
Okay,
site.
so then, wouldn't it just be easy at this point to get this done, to say 12 total, unless you ask for a variance, on a non-owner occupied, or on an owner occupied?
Regardless
That's it.
of the
Thought it had to
septic,
be tied
regardless of
together.
the septic
I mean,
permit.
at this point, because septic's gonna be done later, this is just for short-term rental, this isn't for septic, this is for this ordinance, which is supposed to really only be for
I'm not gonna make
trash,
decisions,
nuisance.
I don't feel comfortable making decisions based on something happening later that may never happen.
Understand, but the city council's job is to create the ordinance, it's your job to do whatever they
Enforce-
say.
We'll
for things that
enforce it
happen
no
in the
matter what they
future.
do,
Okay,
they just asked me for,
great.
our
So then,
advice.
is 12, unless you have a huge house and maybe get a variance, is that an acceptable number in non-owner occupied, and 4 in an owner occupied? Is that acceptable to people here at this table? That's
the health
just my.
department says 4 is acceptable, and if you're asking us to say is 12 also okay, that's hard for me.
Well, it depends on the size of the house.
The size of the house doesn't really
You have
matter, it's the
5,000
size of the
square-
septic field. is
Well,
what-
and that's what we're saying though, is that, before, he was talking about septic, right? And saying, there's some of us who have 3,500 square foot houses. They were sold as 4-bedroom houses, and if you walk in, they are legitimately 4-bedroom houses. We're allowed to sleep 6 people because it's built on a 2-bedroom septic. So that's where the issue arises, because when you bought this house, you're buying it as a 4-bedroom house for your family, for whoever, right? Like ours is our retirement home. So that's where the issue comes up. You have this huge house, but you can't sleep people in the bedrooms. It's not usable. Does that make sense?
Sure, I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is.
So I'm just trying to
But
come up
not
with.
how it
That
was
doesn't
sold to
mean
you.
you
Yeah.
grant some sort of variance.
Well, I
Well,
think
obviously,
somewhere
you
on
can
there,
remember
feel
you can keep
sorry.
your family.
If you got 2
12
bedrooms-
people over the weekend.
because we're giving you 3, that's 6 people. You got 3 bedrooms, because you're giving you 3, that's 9 people. You got 4 bedrooms, you're giving you 3, that's 12 people. That comes right to her number. If you get over and above that, then you gotta go and ask for permission.
Are you saying 4 bedrooms physically or 4-bedroom septic?
4-bedroom physically.
Physically.
Because the septic's gonna come up later and we gave them the opportunity to do whatever. So, 6, 9, 12 rule. And if you need more than that, then you have to come and,
Apply for variance.
I'm good with that because you have to prove that your septic is operating properly.
well, we've already got that covered because with the
Right.
That's
inspection.
why I'm okay with
Right.
it.
Okay,
So
So-
3 guests
What
per
I was
bedroom is
saying.
dictated by fire code.
well, we're looking,
Is that it then?
yeah, you
No, what
get,
he just said,
No, she
You
The
get-
369, he said
3,
369.
6,
You get-
9.
Well, yeah,
basically 3 people per
12.
bed.
right, up to
And then
12.
it's up to 12, and then after 12, you gotta ask for permission.
But what the Department of Health is saying is 246,
We're already over
not
that.
369.
Eventually, Bella Vista's gonna have to do its due diligence and fix the septic problem with new technology and new thought processes, working with the state. So that's what they're saying, is like, let that happen, you know, because it's gonna have to happen for every citizen.
All right,
Yeah.
okay, so we're gonna go with 3, 6, or 6, 9, 12?
3 guests per bedroom unless a variance.
Yeah.
Period.
Regardless of septic.
Regardless of
At
septic or
a
sewer.
max of
Septic
12.
or sewer, everybody
Yeah,
mixes
okay.
at 12.
I can't get on board with that.
Yeah, I'd be against it too.
But that's already kind of what's written.
All right, number 7.
That is what you're.
Sorry, number 6.
But what's written is per the septic permit.
It does
Right.
not, it,
Whichever is less.
it actually does not specify per the septic permit.
It does, it says.
Arkansas
Okay.
Department of
If
Health,
applicable, the Arkansas
on-site
Department
septic
of Health.
Health.
permit,
That's
Septic
what it does,
permit.
yeah.
Sorry,
whichever,
sorry,
No,
sorry.
it's a lot.
whichever is
I was just
less.
reading the first part,
Okay.
my mistake.
Whichever is less.
Yeah.
Are you on 6?
Well,
Yeah.
so,
Jason will have to word that somehow and we'll go from there.
And then I
Can I go
place
back to
septic
What were the
Fine.
numbers
ordinance.
again that y'all wanted to change it to? Just
6, 9, 12?
Yes.
So a
That
max
applies
of
septic
12,
6 on a
Septic.
2-bed,
Yeah. Basically 3 people per
3
bed.
bed,
Three
no.
per
max
bed,
of 12,
three per bed, period.
without a variance.
May I ask you a question about B?
Yeah.
Thank you. I certainly don't think that they should be rented exclusively for, but if someone has a little backyard wedding, because you've done weddings here in Bella Vista, I've done hundreds of weddings in the backyard.
No, I haven't, because I only married 2 people. I didn't want to get involved in their divorce
Okay.
10 years later.
Well, there you go. So I've married tons of people and I've done tons of larger weddings in people's backyards. No one's ever gotten a permit, no one's ever done any of those things, and that's the only reason that this kind of brings up to me. And I know that the whole reason is for parking, but could
But it
we-
says exclusively for. I
Correct.
think you're missing.
No, I know. But what I wanted to kind of add was unless
It's an
adequate.
event, it's trying to prevent you from using it as an event
Yeah,
space.
Right.
Sure.
Okay, never mind, I'll just be quiet.
And I don't know if this other part covers it. Short-term rentals shall be used for the purposes of overnight guest accommodations. It shall not be offered for rent exclusively for.
So long
As I
you're
read
staying
that,
over, it's-
you know, you're not buying it overnight and having a party along the way. You're talking, you're having a wedding between 4 and 6 in the afternoon and then you're done.
But, you know, back to your, it's exclusively for.
Right,
So if
Yeah.
somebody spent the night there and you officiated a wedding there, those 2 things aren't mutually exclusive, I mean, it's not, they both can happen. You just can't rent it exclusively for
Not
the
an
wedding.
event center.
An event
Right.
center.
Advertise it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's saying it's okay to have a wedding or a party, even if you rent it out
Most
as
of
a
looking-
short-term rental. I mean, I think that's,
As long as you're not overnight, shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
That's true.
They're just gonna come
I
and go.
think city council kind of talked about this one pretty at length, about the occasional, someone's having a backyard
Thanksgiving,
thing.
yeah, it's not,
Yeah,
it's not.
like a
meant to-
holiday, but as long as you're not an event center
Right.
where you're saying, hey, this is the house for all the weddings in Bella Vista,
That's
right?
exactly right.
Isn't that what was
We have
discussed
a few
by
of those.
Councilman? Yeah,
You're not marking
So it can
that,
pretty
Right.
much,
yeah, so that's, I think we're okay.
all right, number 6.
I wanted to ask one question on the short-term parking. It's 2 off-street parking.
Minimum, yeah.
But then the next, on the last lines, the other C is that there's no on-street parking.
That's correct.
There isn't,
There isn't.
That's correct.
there
It's
isn't.
not allowed.
So-
Anyway, by city
I don't-
ordinance.
Okay, so I'm not sure, if you have 12 people, is that 6 cars? Is that
Could be.
still 2 cars?
If it's
You
in the
get-
driveway,
You get minimum 2 in your
Right.
driveway, nobody parks in the street, nobody parks on the grass, nobody parks on the empty lot next door.
you have to show that your driveway, what can you handle in your driveway?
And
when
that's
your
already a
garage
city
is in?
ordinance.
So that's another limiting factor then, is how big is your driveway?
Yes.
Build a big driveway, I can put 12 in mine.
Or bus them in.
We can put a lot in there.
Still get out.
You have to have 2 now for any house to go.
Right.
All right,
That's
so
the minimum.
do we have a problem with number 6 in the violations?
I'm confused about violations here and then violations of, or the finding of the, you can't, I can't violate something twice for the same.
What are you
Yes.
referring to?
So maybe I'm confused here. Yeah, so earlier, when it talked about, where is it? Finding people,
Yeah?
right? You were talking about the police issuing noise tickets or whatever. And,
Somewhere down the road, yes,
yeah, whatever section that was. And you,
but that's also a city code.
I agree. But how is it possible that, that this is addressed twice? Does that make sense? So we're gonna get, we're gonna get a noise ticket issued to us because our guests acted up, and then we're gonna get a violation also?
Probably the same thing.
I
What if it's-
wouldn't think so.
Okay.
The only thing
This
would
is-
be is that we would put you on the list that you messed up the first time, and if you mess up again, we'll do something, and the third time, you're gonna get it, you're gonna get a big one.
Is there a time period in this?
I think it's 12 months, isn't it?
Yeah, they made it really long, so.
So the way that I read A is that if you are operating in violation of the ordinance, then you get fined.
Right, that's the way I
So-
understand it.
Right, so
So like operating without a permit.
Without a permit,
without a permit.
or you don't want them in the safety checklist, or whatever.
Right.
Being
the rules.
registered,
Yeah.
approving insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that would be different than
the tickets.
Right.
the tickets. Okay.
All right,
Sure.
you can live with 6?
I got one question back on 5. Is the message given to city council that the steering committee agreed on 2B, 2, 6, 3, 9, 4, 12? Is that the message that's gonna be given to
What was this 264, what?
2 bedrooms, 6 people?
No,
3
that
bedrooms?
would be new, and that would be an amendment trying to get passed.
Is
But
the,
it's
is
agreed
the
by-
city
Yeah,
council gonna
did we
be told
agree?
that this committee agreed to that?
Yeah, that's how it's gonna
Yeah.
get recommended, because we're not changing the ordinance, we're just trying to amend things,
Okay,
you know, one at a time or as a group.
okay. Well, let's put in there that city staff didn't agree with that.
Okay.
But the majority do.
Y'all can, yeah.
But we can do that for all of them.
Can I add a D to section 6?
Probably not, but go ahead, see, what do you want?
Okay, I would like for there to be monthly or quarterly reports from either the police or the planning department or whoever gets the complaints to come in front of the city council and let them know how many trash violations, noise or violations, parking, letter citation sent, payment received, broken down into STR, non-STR. so
I
we
call that
actually
busy work,
have-
and it's a waste of people's time.
Okay.
If it gets to be a big deal, I bet you they'll come to you. But as far as doing it as routinely, I consider that busy work.
I feel like this is a big deal, that's why we're here.
You can open records request that every month. Yeah.
But at this point, it doesn't break down who's STR, who's not. Right now, Chief
Oh,
Graves was here and
right.
said, I had 10 people with noise violations. Well, it could have
But we
been
don't
10
know.
people that didn't have anything
Didn't
to do
even
with
have an
STRs.
STR.
And you wouldn't get a
And-
report like that for better 6 or 8 months to even get organized.
Right.
Oh, that was the whole
We
reason behind
can,
Burke's.
now remember, this is not
Yeah.
set in stone. Once we get this in front of them, we'll take what we can, and you can tweak this thing for another month,
Unless he thinks it's an
or
emergency.
or less. Yeah, and somebody can bring it up if you don't know. Okay, active permits is up to 600. If we need to adjust it, we adjust it, period.
Can we just say 4%? It's 600 right now.
Leave it at 600. A real number that's sort of solid, that doesn't bounce around.
Yeah.
So can I make a statement
It
here?
does. It's a
Y'all are all gonna
saturation thing.
fall off this table, but we actually have, I mean, I don't want the city to blow up or anything, but, the active rentals right now is about 588.
Okay?
So this is what your permit has created, like this
Yeah.
hoopla about this, everybody is run to get their
And
stuff
they may not
listed.
qualify under the rules. we
That's
put out.
true,
Is that-
that's true.
And how many of those are gonna reapply? How many are gonna just, we ain't doing it?
Well, these are new house builds mostly, and
And like I said,
so,
this is not set in stone. We can go back in 6 months, 3 months, 2 weeks, and change it.
And everywhere they go and build these, they're always under the risk that the city's gonna come in and have an ordinance.
Well, rest assured, that's
So-
gonna happen.
Yeah, it doesn't,
Well, so to Stacy's point though, if there's 588, let's just say by the time this is enacted, there's 700, making this up. I've been operating for 2 years, so what if I get shortcutted by somebody who
Okay,
just
so you wanna make it
started?
higher? It doesn't make any difference. It's just a number. But I want it, I don't want a number that floats. Just give us a permanent number, and if we have to fix it, we'll fix it.
Well, Burke's was 750, and then we'd start collecting data and we figure all this out.
yeah,
As we
did
go
it go
along.
up or should it go up or down? That's true.
Well, that
what
your-
was 750?
Steve Burke put one in that he was gonna like
Proposal.
750.
Oh, no.
He was trying to get ahead of the current number, but the longer this goes, the higher the current number
Right.
is.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
So you wanna make it
They
700?
don't have a number.
You wanna make it 700 to start?
Hot Springs has
Yes.
cut theirs about 200.
And all of them
since
are
they-
first dibs,
Well,
so.
Fayetteville's
I
number
don't
9,
know.
they
Really,
don't
we don't know if they have
they only have
first
400 active.
What if we said something as simple as people who
Hot
can
Springs
prove
started at 600
operation
and
for,
they
you know,
dropped it to
operation
5 and
can
they
have a
dropped it
1
to
week head
4.
start in the application process?
So how do they
Something
enforce that?
simple where,
Who do
that
they
way,
cut?
no, okay.
Do you have any idea?
I
mean, I don't know.
I think
Let's just make it 700 be done.
Stop renewals.
I mean, you
See,
can.
that
I don't
gets
know how
to
they
my
did it.
point I was trying to make, Jim, about people jumping the shark over people who
So
are
do you
already
know
have
what
these in
percentage of
existence
their
and have been
housing's
working them
not
for a
Yeah,
while.
but they have to show that they,
I don't, but I'm
we're operating
sure
prior
they're a
to.
bigger city
I-
than.
that
And
would
we
be
can
fine.
put, we
That's
can
what
put the
Maria
prior
just
to
said.
date far
Yeah.
enough back that it'll mess up all these folks who've done it in the last 30 days.
People.
Yeah.
So then that has to
I'd have to
be
look it up.
somewhere
Yeah, I
in
don't know.
section.
Yeah, that has to be in here.
Well, like I said, the date on there, I just threw it in for a date purpose.
Right, but that's Maria's point, that the ordinance should include a date.
Yeah, and it
Where
will,
if you were operating before that,
and it will.
you are first in line.
Well, you're not first in line, but you get,
But you're gonna.
Why not?
you're gonna get preference because you gotta show it. There's no first in line. You gotta have 8,000 people standing outside.
Yeah, none of those 8,000
8,000.
people should take precedent over people who've
And-
already been operating.
And if we put the date far enough back, it'll take care of that. If we put the start date
Okay.
far enough back, it'll take care of that.
Are
And if
guys
you
good
don't
with
think
that?
600's enough, we can make it 700.
Keep the number where it is and raise it later if you need to. I mean, you start making it out there. I'd say stick with the number you have.
Well, hopefully.
It's good for you guys.
The,
We hope.
I don't think nobody
We're not looking
everyone's
for
okay with
advantage.
having a cap.
Absolutely.
I think the only concern is,
As long as you're in it.
well,
Yeah,
exactly,
exactly.
well,
Existing,
because
yeah.
that's, we've
We've
bought
already
these
been
houses
operating.
and we've been operating
Yeah.
and we have bookings for next summer, you know, guess who are coming? And I'm not gonna call them and tell them they can't come and enjoy our beautiful town. And so I think we all definitely want that cap, we just wanna make sure that we'll be able to welcome those guests
Or at least
next
have the
summer.
chance to be in it.
Yes,
Yeah.
the chance to be
Well,
in
and
it.
then we'll have to determine, and we don't need that right now, because we got, before this thing gets passed, is, you know, the number 9 is get your stuff going in 120 days, and we know that ain't gonna happen. We'll have to extend that.
So a point of clarification, a week or so ago, wasn't it like only 450?
That's the number I used, but it's not necessarily correct. He just came up with 500 something. The number I used, I just
588.
pulled out of the air.
You pulled yours out of the air?
Yeah, just for an example.
I see.
Well, there's something on the front of the document too, it says 460 to 480.
That was back from last March.
So that's why
Correct.
he's said 460 to 480, and he's capping it at 600 is because that was a certain percentage of what's already in existence.
So then the end of section 9 needs to be changed.
Well, we need to change the dates at the time.
Well, and
But I mean, going back though to Maria, your point, if you had a short-term rental today, this legislation's not passed today, you should still be able to operate. I mean, I would feel bad for anyone who bought their house
Yeah,
without
he
this.
We didn't
said-
say you couldn't.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Okay.
saying.
We didn't
Yeah.
say you couldn't.
Okay, because I mean, that's not me, but I mean,
No,
imagine
we
if it
didn't say you
was.
couldn't. You're running, you're running.
Okay, okay,
You're running.
yeah, okay.
All right, now, hopefully that's it. I told Jason I'd have it to him sooner than that. All right, section 2 is 2 years instead of 1. Let's see here. We left section 3. What did we do, take it out?
3B was.
We took B off, correct? Left the rest,
yes,
okay? Let's see, section 4, we took off electrical codes.
Electrical codes.
Also, we took off phone number as the owner.
Hold on, where was
We
that?
took B
Address.
altogether.
We didn't take,
Phone is phone
Included
number.
the inspection and then
yeah,
variance.
we didn't take B off altogether.
Yeah.
No.
What-
No, we just took off the one line about,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
the-
lines after
Yeah,
Arkansas.
Okay.
right.
And provide for a variance for ton.
okay, section 5 is 6912.
Hold on, what'd you remove on the electrical code?
We just took out the electrical code inspection part. Let the fire department do it all. Unless, you know, if you wanna get in on that, we'll just take it off and leave it like it is.
I think if we attach Doug's inspection list to it, I think all of us owners would be
Mhm.
fine with
So
this.
it's okay if we leave them on? Or,
Let's just make sure we attach that.
Yeah,
And say
that's,
this is
that could
it,
be-
I
that
think
should be
that's
part
great.
of it.
Mhm.
okay, so we'll leave that alone. We won't do anything then to,
Because electrical code is not making sure your house is up to 2022 codes, it's the GCFI, it's the things that he has listed, which are important.
Fire concerns.
I have a
Okay.
question, real quick, I'm sorry, just real quick, and it deals with section 4A. Let's say something doesn't pass on that, how much time do you give the person to get that rectified? I mean,
We need
because
to come
if-
up with something reasonable. You
Right,
can
because
expect
if they're
somebody to
operating-
overhaul something in a day, it could be a
Right.
month or two, yeah.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
know,
they
look
can
at
give-
people,
they can
just
give
get
the
people to
timeframe
come out and repair that
understood.
stuff is hard, so
Uh-huh.
there's no sense in putting, I mean, if it's a life safety hazard, that's one thing. If you
okay,
put
here's
people in-
something that we didn't talk about and you need to. And then that's it for today. We ain't gonna touch anything else at this time. We're gonna meet again on the day after the work session, okay? And at the work session, I will propose these things. Depending on how that goes, and we talk about it on the Tuesday, we think we have a feeling we're gonna get some things through at the next meeting, okay? Which means we may or may not change somebody's vote, okay? Do we bite the bullet? Because we think maybe we gained the vote, and that's all you need is one. Do we bite the bullet and move it up to third reading because we think maybe we got it? Or do we take a chance on a new council and drag it out to January? Because we got 3 votes, we only got 3, we need 4. If we can get one of those 3 to
Agree with
take
the
a chance
consensus.
and jump over, then all of a sudden you got 4. If we go ahead and say, we probably ought to do this now, or maybe you want to think about it, do we go to the third reading and then we got our 4 votes and you're in? Or let it slide for another month
And fight these things all over
and
again.
then, well, you won't fight it all over because it's gonna happen and next month it's gonna happen. You've either got a known entity or an unknown entity. And it's something that can be determined, like, we'll know, and I'm sure most of you will be there, you'll be there for the work session. We will know when we meet the next day where we stand. You know, so it's either we take a chance like Columbus did, or we go again. Or, after we find out what we got on the Monday, we can still tweak it because it doesn't come into effect, or the changes wouldn't come into effect till a regular meeting the following week. Your choice. So wait till the day after the work session and make a decision.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, that's it, guys. I gotta go to see Jason. Hopefully I won't lose that paper we just built.
Thank you all.
Hey, thanks for coming. I know it's been tough, and I know I haven't been easy on you, but Like I said, I think you guys needed a shot. I volunteered because somebody freaking dropped the ball on you, because I really wasn't gonna get into this, but I did. So that's where we're at.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate you.
Sure. That's what my mic says.
Thanks, Jim.
Hey,
She's right.
One thing that I don't think we're